Welcome, everyone. It is officially 2 o'clock if you are on Eastern Standard Time. Welcome to the webinar with Blake Oliver, Harness the Power of AI, Practical Uses for Accountants. Like I said, presenting today is Blake Oliver. He will be covering everything AI-related, ChatGPT, and all that good stuff that we're all so excited to learn about. If you have any questions throughout the webinar, please use the chat feature. It's at the top of your screen to click. We will be monitoring that throughout the entire seminar today. We will be reacting with it and engaging with Blake in that way. So if you have any questions throughout the entire webinar, please use the chat feature, not the Q&A. This session is being recorded. If you have any questions about that, or if you would like a copy of this recording, we will be sharing that after the session. As a reminder, this seminar or this webinar is for 1 hour of CPE credit. Blake will discuss that when I'm finished with my housekeeping, but this is for 1 hour if you are needing that. If you have any questions, please engage with us. If we don't address your question during today's presentation, contact information, we will figure something out to get the best way to answer your questions at the end. So please reach out as needed. But without further ado, I give you Blake Oliver. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Julia. Thank you for that warm welcome. Hi, everyone. It's amazing. We have over 100 folks on this webinar today. So please ask your questions. Please make your comments. I will do my best to engage with you as we do this. It's a lot more fun when you give me ideas for what we can try with ChatGPT and AI. I'm always learning new things, and I'd love to learn from you what's working for you in your role. If you haven't yet tried AI, do not worry. When I do surveys of accountants on webinars, it's often only about 20% of accountants who have tried it so far. So you can still be an early adopter, even at a conference like QuickBooks Connect, which tends to attract some really tech-savvy accountants. I think only about 50% of people in the audience raised their hand when I did a presentation on this topic, saying that they had used AI. So don't feel like you are being left behind. The latest version of ChatGPT has only been out for a year. ChatGPT 4 came out in March, and that was when I started to really pay attention to it. I started using it, and now I use it every single day in my job. And while I don't exactly do a ton of accounting anymore, I talk about technology and accounting, and I have a show where we talk about the latest news in accounting every week. I use it for a lot of email, a lot of communication, and I think this is an area where it can really help you too, because so much of what we do as accountants is not actually numbers. It is communication. It's policies and procedures. It's brainstorming, that sort of thing. So we're going to do some practical examples today. I'm going to get right into it after we talk about the CPE. So as Julia mentioned, we are going to offer CPE for this webinar, but it's not the usual way that you are used to getting CPE. We are going to do it with an on-demand course on the Earmark app. This is an app that I created to allow you to get CPE for watching YouTube videos and listening to podcasts, including my own podcast. So the way this will work is that we are going to take the recording of this. We're going to make a self-study course on the Earmark app. You'll get an email if you have expressed interest in CPE. There will be a link in that email to download the app. You will take a quick quiz to verify your learning, and then you'll get a CPE certificate emailed to you. So no polling questions today, nothing you have to do. If you want to get a jump start, you can go to earmarkcpe.com. You can enter your name and email there, and you'll get a link to download the app, and you can get it installed so that it's ready to go. And it will be completely free to you to get the CPE for this event. So a little bit about me, in case I'm new to you. I'm a CPA. I'm the host of the Accounting Podcast, co-host of the Accounting Podcast with my friend David Leary. Every week we get together and we talk about the latest news. We started out doing this show 5 years ago, focused almost exclusively on technology. And while that is still an important aspect of our discussions every week, we've broadened it now to include all sorts of things from accounting. I guess we're at 445 episodes at this point. It's the #1 podcast in accounting in the world. So I hope you'll consider subscribing to that, and you'll get more of this good stuff every single week. So okay, let's talk about AI. Like I mentioned, I use it every day. About 20% of accountants are using it now. They've at least tried it. If I had to guess, I would say that you could automate perhaps 15% of the work that you do today with AI chatbots. That's what OpenAI says. And that's what the researchers say. And I think that might actually be true. I get quite a lot of time savings just using the ChatGPT chatbot and Claude and Bard and that sort of thing. Ultimately, once these technologies are integrated into the apps that we use every single day in tax and accounting, in Excel, that sort of thing, it could automate as much as 50% of the work that we do. Now, that doesn't mean that we're going to lose 50% of the jobs. It just means that 50% of the work that you do every day could be automated by AI. And to me, that sounds like a really good deal because we have a talent crunch in our profession. We don't have nearly enough accountants or CPAs or even bookkeepers to do the work. So we need all the help that we can get. And it's going to allow us to create more value by doing less tedious work and hopefully enjoy more free time. Ever since I started using ChatGPT to write a lot of content, to outline content, even to help me create this webinar, it has saved me a ton of time. And I get to go outside and get exercise and feel a lot better than if I'm stuck at my desk all day. So I hope that it will do the same thing for you. And so we're going to get started doing some examples with ChatGPT, with Claude. We're going to do some research. We're going to document some policies and procedures. We're going to analyze some documents. We'll try writing emails, and then we'll brainstorm with it. So hopefully we can get through all 5 of those in this hour. But again, if anything in particular interests you, feel free to let me know. Okay, so let's do something to start. Let's do some research. Now, you might be thinking, okay, let's do ChatGPT. And that is certainly one way to go. But there is also another option, which is a little more convenient in some ways, which is Bing. Microsoft made a big investment in ChatGPT and has integrated ChatGPT into the Edge browser. And they're calling it Copilot. It used to be called Bing Chat. Now it's called Copilot. I've got the Microsoft Edge browser open here, and you can access it by going to bing.com, and then you can click on Chat. The other way that you can get to it is simply by, on any website, clicking on the icon here, the Copilot icon on the right, upper right, and that'll open up a sidebar here with Copilot. And this is basically the same condensed version of what you see when you go to the full Copilot. So Copilot is connected to ChatGPT. It's basically an interface for it. And if you are using a free account, like a free or personal Microsoft account, you should know that what you put into this could be used to train the LLM. So if you are using a free version, if you are not on a paid Microsoft 365 Enterprise plan that includes Copilot Enterprise, just be careful to know that what you put in here should not include personally identifiable information, if at all possible. If you are on an enterprise plan, then you can go ahead and put that information in, knowing that it won't be retained by the model. And if you trust Microsoft with basically your entire company, then you probably trust it to do right by you with the AI and your information. So that's my feeling. Do your own research on that. Okay, with that out of the way, let's do some research. Let's say, we want to just get some information. Normally, I would go do a Google search, right? That's how a lot of us have been trained. We go search Google, and then we scroll down pages and pages of results. I would encourage you to try using Bing Chat, or as they call it, Copilot Chat now, Copilot, because it's just a lot faster. And when you do that, you'll get some suggestions here at the top. These are usually not very relevant to accounting. Although this is kind of interesting, create a table that analyzes public funding for the arts compared to GDP. Maybe we'll give that a try later. But the thing you want to do is you want to choose a conversation style. And this is going to choose how creative the AI is, how much it might hallucinate. So If you want a precise answer, you're going to hit more precise, and that changes the color scheme. Oop, got to go back up. And then you can just do your search. And unlike with Google, you can simply search using natural language. So for instance, I might be curious about current events. I don't know if anyone else was paying attention to this, but the Haslam family, which owns Pilot, or at least used to, sued Berkshire Hathaway a little while ago. And it was over an accounting argument. So maybe I could ask, why did the Haslam family sue Berkshire Hathaway? Spells it for me. That's nice. Now, if I had searched on Google, I'd be getting pages of results, maybe some news articles. But what Bing is going to do is it's going to go and write me a nice little narrative here. The Haslam family, founders of Pilot Travel Centers, filed a lawsuit against Berkshire Hathaway over a dispute regarding the valuation of their remaining 20% stake in the company. They accused Berkshire Hathaway of adopting new accounting practices, specifically push-down accounting, which they claimed artificially depressed the reported earnings of Pilot Travel Centers. And it goes on and on. And see these little like footnote icons here? This, if I click on any of these sentences, or if I hover over, I can see the source. So I don't have to worry about hallucination because I can go and check. I can look at the sources. Now, let's say I want to dig into this more. I could say, tell me more about the push-down accounting part of this. Because I'm interested. What was this accounting treatment that people were objecting to? Now it's going to give me a generic explanation of push-down accounting from Investopedia. And it's telling me that the acquirer's accounting basis is used to prepare the financial statements of the purchased entity. The assets and liabilities of the target company are updated to reflect the purchase cost rather than the historical cost. And I could dig down into this further. It's a really fantastic way actually to remember or research accounting standards. You could look up all sorts of stuff with this. So that's an example of just how like this has replaced Google search for me in a lot of ways. I also have the Bing app on my phone, and I want to try showing you that actually. I've got a way to reflect onto my screen. Doesn't seem to be working right now. I'll try to get that working later. With the Bing app, it's kind of neat because you can install it as a widget on your screen, and you can just click on this microphone icon, and you can just speak your search. So now when I want to know something, I just slide over to this screen, and I tap on the microphone, and I just speak my search, and then I get a response in natural language. It'll even speak it out loud to me. Kind of neat. Okay, so that's basically how Google search is getting disrupted by AI. Let's do something a little more, I don't know, a little more specific for accounting. So let's say we wanted to get some financial metrics and benchmarks for our industry, or it's a new industry that we're not quite as familiar with. AI is great for this. So let's go to ChatGPT. So this is my ChatGPT interface here. I have signed up for ChatGPT Team, which if you are going to be putting a lot of information into ChatGPT, I recommend you do it. It costs $25 or $30 a month, depending on whether you pay monthly or annually. And that team account means that your data will not be used to train the LLM. I'm not sure they're really doing that a lot with the data we're putting into it anyway, but this gives you the assurance that they're not going to do that. So go ahead and sign up for the team account. Here's a prompt that I drafted up that you could try yourself. Provide a summary of the latest trends in financial metrics and benchmarks for the blank sector. So let's just call this SaaS sector, like software as a service sector, because that's what my app is. I'm interested to know about that. Specifically, I'm interested in understanding the average debt to equity ratios, profit margins, and liquidity ratios for companies within this industry. Additionally, it would be helpful if you could highlight any significant changes or trends observed over the last few years, including any impacts from recent economic events. This information will be used to compare a company's performance against industry standards and identify potential areas for improvement. So ChatGPT is connected to Bing, so it can go out and it can search the internet. And now it is going to give me the information I asked for. Oh, that's funny. In this case, it's saying that it couldn't find in the sources that it reviewed. So this will happen sometimes. It will fail to get the information. You might have to try again. It's talking about market resilience, growth rates. The median growth rate for a public SaaS company was 22% as of March 2023, while private SaaS companies saw a median growth rate of 35%. And see these quotation marks? That means that it's sourcing. So I can go and I can click on these to go out, and I'll just do that right now. The average annual churn rate for SaaS companies is between 5 to 7%. Let's click on this link. And here we go. Now we've got the blog post over at Vina where that came from, and I could go and look for that information. Key metrics and benchmarks for SaaS companies, customer acquisition cost. That's interesting. It's getting very specific. Burn multiples, net revenue retention rates. Pretty neat, huh? We could dig into some of these. We could try to see if we can get more information on any of these in particular. For instance, tell me more about CAC in SaaS. CAC is cost to acquire a customer. And now it's going to go out and do some research. Now we're getting an explanation of how to calculate CAC. It's telling us what the purpose is, why we need to keep it in check, what other metrics that we should consider. Now, it's giving us a lot of information. So I want to emphasize we shouldn't just take this at face value ever. Think of ChatGPT as a helpful intern. So it's going to go out and do research, come back to you. Always review and verify this information. Never take it at face value. You don't want to be that. You don't want to be like that attorney in New York who drafted a legal brief and submitted it to the court, and it turned out that ChatGPT had hallucinated legal cases, because it will do that if you if you don't tell it not to. So I hope this is helpful in giving you ideas for how to get information about the industries that you are operating in or you are serving. What about compliance? That can always be tricky, right? Let's say we want to get up to date on financial reporting standards. Here's another prompt you could try. I'm looking for the most recent updates in financial reporting standards applicable to the blank industry in the United States. Let's say just, I don't know, manufacturing. I don't know much about manufacturing, but let's see what we get. I'm asking it to summarize the key changes in GAAP that have been announced in the last 12 months. Also, please include any upcoming changes or proposals companies must prepare for. This information will ensure our financial reporting and compliance practices are up to date. Let's see what we get. So it's creating a search. It's searching with Bing. And it's saying in the last 12 months, there have been several key updates in the GAAP applicable to manufacturing and other sectors. And here's a summary. So we've got disclosure improvements. I wonder if it's going to link to it. That would be really helpful. I should have specified that I wanted links. We've got sources. That's great. Accounting for investments and tax credit structures. So I think you get the idea. And again, if I wanted to dig into any of these, I could simply ask for more information. Tell me more about ASU 2023-02. Give me an executive summary of segment reporting enhancements. Okay, so that's good for research. let's talk about another way you can use AI, which is one of my favorites, which is drafting policies and procedures. Um, Policies and procedures, super annoying to document. If you don't have them, it can be really hard to start from scratch. But the beauty is that plenty of manuals of policies and procedures have been ingested into ChatGPT's LLM. And guess what? These policies and procedures are often the same across companies. There are best practices that we can follow that ChatGPT knows. And so we can take advantage of that. So let's just see what we get if we ask it to create a policy or a procedure document around AR and collections. So here is a prompt saying create standardized procedures around B2B credit limits. You can't see that. Yeah, I can make myself a little smaller here. There we go. Create standardized procedures around B2B credit limits, AR aging analysis and reporting, customer collections follow-up, and bad debt allowance approaches aligned to accounting treatments for write-offs. Now, I didn't give it a lot of guidance, so it's going to be interesting to see what we get here. So we're getting objective, procedure, credit assessment, credit limit approval, periodic review, AR aging analysis and reporting. We've got an objective, we've got a procedure. So isn't this great to have this as a starting point? Now we don't start from a blank page, we start from something we've already got. Customer collections follow-up. And if this is not detailed enough, you can now go and ask ChatGPT, hey, let's dig in more to this particular section. Let's get more detail here. And then you can assemble the whole thing later. Especially if you're drafting a long document, I found that it really helps to ask AI to make an outline and then to have it draft sections of each of the outline. If it's going to be a long document, say longer than a page, that tends to work really well. So let's just take a look at bad debt allowance approaches and see how it did. So the objective is to accurately estimate and report the allowance for doubtful accounts, reflecting the expected credit losses. Procedure, estimation methods. Use appropriate methods to estimate bad debts, such as the percentage of sales method or the aging of accounts receivable method, based on historical data and current economic conditions. Periodic review. Review and adjust the bad debt allowance regularly to reflect changes in the credit risk profile of the receivable portfolio. Accounting treatment for write-offs. Follow the prescribed accounting standards for writing off uncollectible accounts and recovering previously written off amounts. Could we ask it to do more detail? Let's try that. I suggested it. Let's give it a shot. Let's flesh out number 4 further. Just see what it does. And you notice how sometimes it types a little slowly. That's because these prompts use a ton of computing power. And if a lot of people are using ChatGPT at the same time, it can create a bottleneck. So now we're getting some more detail on the methods and the selection of the methods. Not bad. We could do another one. Let's create a new chat. And let's try travel and expense. Draft a comprehensive policy around the treatment of business travel costs, required pre-approvals, expense documentation and submission process, allowances for meal/lodging/transportation costs, blah, blah, blah. So I've already pre-typed this prompt, right? But let's try something else this time. Let's say, like, I'm just doing this without even knowing what the prompt should be, right? Like, you're not going to have a pre-written prompt when you come into ChatGPT. So you might not even know what you need to do. So what we could say is, we could just ask, we could say, I am a controller. I need to create a travel and expense policy for my company. What should I consider putting in the policy? Give me a bullet point list. Now, one thing I didn't put in here is the you are. You are a helpful, accounting manager. Let's say that. So when you're writing prompts, the structure in creating prompts from scratch that tends to work well is I am, you are, I need. So you're giving a context, and context is really helpful for the AI. I am, who are you? What is your role? What do you do? It could be as simple as your job description. I am a controller. We could even say corporate controller if we want. I don't know if that will make a difference. We could say that. You are a helpful accounting manager. Actually, that might not be the best thing, but we'll just see if that works. Actually, you're a helpful CFO. I need to create a travel and expense policy for my company. That's the I need part, right? And let's hit go and see what happens. So now we're going to get that bullet point list. And now we can start working with this. We can take an outline. We can massage the outline, edit it, get it to where we like, and then ask ChatGPT to help us draft each section of the outline. We'll try that for one of these sections. Oh, and we got a network error. That often will happen. Just hit regenerate if that does. I'm going to let this generate a bit. Julia, do we have any questions so far or comments?
Not at this time, but we highly recommend people engaging with Blake in this way. You've got a real expert here that you can ask the silliest question that you have. We really encourage it. It's fun to see ChatGPT work in real time. And I think real world examples that, you all are experiencing would be great to see, because I can almost guarantee that if you're experiencing it, someone else is too. So get those questions in there.
I'd love to hear them, or prompts that you have tried that work really well for you. I'd love to try them myself. Wow, this is really getting detailed. It gave me a lot of good stuff here.
How can I reissue a check in GP?
Oh, okay, we can try that. Yeah, actually, it's really good at helping with software if the documentation is available publicly. So how can I reissue a check in Great Plains? I'm assuming that's GP.
Goodness, I hope so.
I think so. This works really well for QuickBooks as well, because so much documentation is online. All of these support sites, right, they make their documentation publicly available, so they're searchable on Google. And ChatGPT has access to searching the web too. It's ingested most of the internet. So
while this is finishing up, someone said that they're trying Copilot, but they want to understand how you access free ChatGPT.
So Copilot is the best way to access the free version of ChatGPT. You can also simply sign up for ChatGPT on chat.openai.com. But if you don't pay, you're only going to get access to version 3.5, which is far less sophisticated than 4. 4 passed the bar exam. 3 did not. That's the difference. So if you're going to use the ChatGPT interface that I'm using, you should pay at least the $20 to upgrade. I think they call it Plus. If you want data protection, pay $30 a month, and you don't have to worry about your prompts being used to train the model. So you don't have to go and strike personal information from all your prompts, unless you really, really want to be secure. And also there's some other features in here I can show you where you'll get to make like custom GPTs that reuse prompts over and over again. So you don't have to keep saving all these prompts in a document somewhere. I hope that answers the question. But think about it, like the amount of time you will save simply by spending 20 or 30 bucks a month. Makes it well worth it, in my opinion. So I hope our answer here to how to reissue a check in Great Plains helped. I don't know Great Plains, so I couldn't tell you, but pretty neat. We could also ask it for the source because it didn't provide them. What's the source of this information? And hopefully we'll get a link. Interesting. It's not giving me a link. Provide me with a link to a web page that tells me how to do this. And now it's going to do the research with Bing. So before, when it didn't do the research, it was actually just referencing whatever is in its model, whatever it's been trained on that's in the model. Now it's actually going to go out and search. And so here's the link. And then here's a blog post by what I assume is a reseller of GP or a IT vendor. Pretty nifty.
Blake, does Bing give you access to ChatGPT 4.0 or just 3.5?
It gives you access to 4. So if you're in Edge and you're on chat, let me try a new topic. This should be doing 4 by default. If you're on the mobile app for Bing, sometimes you might see, let me see if I can find it. Yeah, so on the mobile app, this is the mobile app. I'm going to make myself bigger here so you can see it. So I'm on the mobile app now, and there's a little toggle that says use GPT-4. And they turn that off for every chat by default to save, I think, on the processing power because GPT-4 is more expensive to run than GPT-3. So you toggle that on, and then you do your prompt. Also on the mobile app, it's funny, they show this GPT-4 toggle, but they don't show the tones, which I showed you earlier. To get to the tones, you have to click on the 3 dots in the upper right, and then there's a show all tones. And then you can choose. And notice it's on creative. I don't generally want it on creative when I'm doing accounting research. I want it on precise. So now I've got it on precise, and I believe it's on GPT-4. So that's how you can use GPT-4 for free through Bing mobile app, or same thing with Edge on your desktop.
Blake, can you discuss data and information security, especially when using AI integration into something like Excel?
So if it is Copilot, which is coming to Excel, I think some people have access. If you're using Microsoft Copilot and you are on an enterprise plan that has Copilot, then you get the same data protections. Where I have this here somewhere, I guess not. I'll find it. You get the same data protections in Copilot that you do in other Microsoft products if you're paying for it. So it's a $30 per month thing. It's an add-on. Your administrator can enable it. And if you're on an enterprise plan, you've got Copilot Enterprise enabled, you can feel free to use this, and the data is not being used to train OpenAI's models. I believe it is saved on their servers for like 30 days, but that's only to prevent abuse. It's not being used in any other way. So Copilot Enterprise and ChatGPT Team are the way to get that data security, which personally is good enough for me to put my information into this and use it that way. Like, I feel like most of my life is already in Google or Microsoft, and if they're standing by it, I'm okay with it. But you'll have to do your own, risk analysis.
How well
Any other questions?
Yeah, we've got a ton actually. How well
Okay,
have
cool.
searches worked for current state and federal tax incentives for manufacturing companies, and how to apply them, or how do I apply?
So we're talking about current federal tax incentives.
Yes.
What are the
Yes.
latest federal tax incentives for manufacturing? companies in the United States. And I had a spelling error in there, but it doesn't matter. The AI is smart enough to figure it out. The untied states. That's how I said it. So now here we go. We've got a list of the incentives from the Inflation Reduction Act of 2022. And we've got links. Pretty neat. Now it looks like there was one post in particular that it's sourcing these from, because we've got a lot of ones here in the footnotes, taxsummaries.pwc.com. I like to see that, right? We like to see it when an accounting firm gets the first result. We've got BDO and KPMG here. So isn't that great? Instead of me or you having to go on Google and look at those pages and read all of those posts, you've got a summary here and you can click through to read more. Fantastic for doing that kind of research. Okay.
Can you demo uploading a CSV and ask ChatGPT to build formulas into new columns?
So you can use ChatGPT to do Excel and table work. I actually don't find it to be that helpful because it's not perfect. And so sometimes it creates more problems than it solves to do that. What I will sometimes do is if I can't figure out how to make a formula, like I don't know what formula I need, I will upload the sheet and explain what I want the formula to do. And then ChatGPT can actually create the formula. I don't have a great example of that right now, but I did use AI with Zapier. Actually, it's a good example. So we do webinars at Earmark, and we use a platform called StreamYard, and we can create custom questions in our form when people register. And one of those questions is company name, but it's not a built-in field in StreamYard. It's a custom field. And we want to take all the registrations and put them into a spreadsheet. Well, we could connect StreamYard to a Google Sheet with Zapier because they both connect to Zapier, which is an automation platform. But in Zapier, I couldn't figure out a formula to isolate the company name properly because the way the custom fields are set up, all the custom fields go into one field and they're separated by commas. But what if the company name has a comma in it, which it often does? And I could not figure out how to do this with formulas. I know there's a way, but I couldn't figure it out. Zapier has an integration with OpenAI, and I realized all I had to do was take that field, and I created a step in the Zap where it takes the field name and the field value. It's a grouping of field names and field values separated by commas, and I just sent it to OpenAI with a prompt that says, identify the company name and drop everything else. And it can pull back the company name with 100% accuracy every single time. So I don't even need a formula anymore. I just send the data in CSV format into OpenAI through the API, comes back to Zapier, Zapier sticks it into the field in the spreadsheet. And that is something that I might have like puzzled over for a day. So that's not exactly, I think, the solution that somebody's asking for, but you can certainly ask it, what formula should I use to accomplish this, right? I'll just give you an example right now. I have a list of, full names in column A of my Excel spreadsheet. What formula should I use to split them into first and last name? And now it's giving me how to find the first name and the last name. Now it's also telling me that there's no middle names, right? And it assumes the names are specified by a single space, right? And I could say, well, what if there are sometimes middle names, but not always? Now it's giving me the solution. Using the mid formula. Everyone can be an Excel expert now. So that's just a really simple example, right? But I never would have been able to, I didn't know the mid formula or how to do this substitute thing. And if the formula doesn't work, you could then copy paste or upload the spreadsheet and try to figure out, ask it to troubleshoot for you what's happening. Okay, I'm going to move on, Julia, and we'll get to more questions if they come in. There's some more stuff I want to show you, such as analyzing documents. So this is super cool. This is one that I actually use, let's see, I use Claude for. So there's an alternative to ChatGPT. It's called Claude, Claude.ai, and it is made by Anthropic, which received a multi-billion-dollar investment from Amazon. So now we've got two giants going at it. We've got Microsoft investing in OpenAI, at ChatGPT, and we've got Amazon investing in Claude by Anthropic. This is free in beta. You just have to sign up with an email or a Google account, and you can use Claude, and there's no limitations on the quality of the model. You get the best model. They do limit you on the number of prompts. So actually, if you want to use AI for free, this is one of the best ways to do it is with Claude. And it's better than ChatGPT in some ways for analyzing PDF documents, like long PDFs. For writing, I find it to be higher quality than what I get with ChatGPT. ChatGPT can sound kind of, I don't know, the language it uses doesn't really sound as much like me. It sounds more AI generated, and Claude sounds much more natural. I don't know how else to describe it. So when you're in Claude, this is what it looks like. And we can analyze any document. Great example might be like a 10K. So let's say we want to analyze some financial statements, right? Let's look up Tesla's 10K. So is this the latest one? This is from the SEC website. I don't know, it doesn't really matter which one it is. No, I don't want, this one's too old. Let's go to the latest. This is not where I found it before. All right, well, I'll just use this one. Doesn't matter, as long as it's a 10K. So I'm going to go and select the whole thing. Oh my God, these 10Ks are getting so long, 116 pages. I hope Claude can handle this. It should be able to, though. So I'm going to paste that in. Great, it worked. And I've got this prompt that I created for analyzing 10Ks. I actually created it with the help of AI. This says, here's a 10K report. I need a detailed analysis focusing on key areas, and I've listed out the areas. I didn't draft this all by myself. I used AI to help me create the prompt for analyzing a 10K. And now I've pasted in 10K, and I'm going to, hopefully, this will work. It's a lot. It's 480 kilobytes. It's a lot of lines. We're going to see if it'll do it. So that 10K, that SEC filing, those financial statements are now going into Claude. Claude has my detailed prompt, and now it's doing its best to respond. We're going to see what happens. Fingers crossed. You can also do this with PDFs. So if you have PDFs of court cases, it can do that. Let's actually do, let's find one of those while we wait. So I'm going to go find, would be actually see SEC Tingo complaint. Let's do that one.
We actually just had two people ask about PDFs, so this is fantastic.
Yeah, so PDFs work as well, and that's great for court cases, which I hate trying to read through. Oh, here we go. We'll do that next. Okay. So this is actually a 2001 10K. So we get an executive summary. Tesla reported strong revenue growth. We get risk factors. We get MD&A. We get financial statements, analysis. Now again, AI can hallucinate. Generally, if you give it information, like I did, you get a much better response, more accurate response than if you just asked it. Like if I just asked Claude, tell me information about Tesla's 2021 financials, it's most likely going to hallucinate that. But if I give it the 10K and then say summarize this information, it's very unlikely to hallucinate. I found it to be extremely accurate when I do that. That's pretty neat. So let's try analyzing a PDF document. So I downloaded this SEC complaint. This is, if you haven't heard about this, this is incredible. This is an SEC complaint against the founder of Tingo Group, which is a mobile phone company in Nigeria that turned out to be a total fraud and somehow got acquired by a public company. Their financials got incorporated into the public company financials. Deloitte audited them, didn't detect the fraud, and over $460 billion that was on the books didn't exist. Worst fraud from a cash standpoint since Wirecard. So let's see if Claude identifies this, right? I know the story. I'm just going to give it a very simple prompt. Provide an executive summary of this, and I'm just going to say SEC complaint. Gosh, time is flying. Okay, while it's doing that, I'm going to look at the rest of my notes and make sure we need to do some email writing. I think that's the last thing. So I promise we will write an email after this. So now here's our summary. Yeah, the bank account actually had only $50 in it. There you go. Telling me about the audit failure in this case. You can also ask it to tell you what page something comes from. So if you want to dig into, say, how Tingo tricked the auditors, you could ask it to detail that, but you can also ask it, what page can I find this on? So they created fake bank statements, contracts, and invoices, fake suppliers and customers, lack of verification. This is where Deloitte really screwed up. There's no indication auditors took steps like independently confirming reported cash balances with banks. They just accepted the bank statements provided by the client. Shocking. All right, so that's PDFs. Claude is my recommendation for analyzing PDFs. Also, if you want to write content for yourself, if you want to create blog posts, I don't know if you do that in your job, or if you need to write emails, Claude is great. I'm going to do one of those right now. Go ahead.
While you're doing
Julia.
that, can you upload a PDF for analysis?
Yep. So on Claude, you just click on this little paperclip icon. Oh, I'm hiding it. Let me make myself smaller again. I'll get out of the way. So there's this little paperclip icon here, and it will accept up to 5 attachments of 10 megabytes each, accepting PDF, text, CSV. It says, etc. I don't know exactly what else it will take. I usually just do PDF or text or CSV.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Okay, so let's do an email. And I have a real example, actually. We're going to keep in Claude because I do like it for writing emails. Although ChatGPT works just fine. But, hey, if you're an AI nerd, you're going to use the best tool you've got available, right? So I got this email from a vendor that's trying to collect money from me, my company. And I honestly do not think that I owe them anything, right? Normally, this would take me a long time to respond to. I decided to use AI to help me do that because it needs to sound, like my lawyer helped me write it. But I don't want to pay my lawyer to write it. So this is the actual email. I changed some things in it to anonymize it so you don't know who the vendor is. This is the actual email that I received, right? They're asking me to pay them $4,000. And I said, well, let's tell it what to do, right? And one way to do this is, typing is time consuming, right? So if you have, voice dictation on your computer, just use that. It doesn't have to be perfect. AI is smart enough to figure this out. So I will do that right now. Help me draft a professional email reply to the message below, telling Wayne that I believe we don't owe them any money. Explain that the vendor repeatedly failed to deliver on their promises to help us recruit additional qualified back-end engineers to grow our company. And so we had to waste a bunch of time finding them ourselves. Therefore, these collection efforts represent an unfair tactic. And if the vendor wants to preserve their good name, they should stop trying to collect this from us and let it go. Not bad. So if you need to respond to IRS notices, that's another great one. Let's try, actually, are you familiar with IRS failure to file notices? Okay, cool. I wanted to know what the number was. I received a CP 215 from the IRS for my company, telling me what I need to do to respond so I can get the penalty waived. Like, this is really time-consuming, tedious stuff, right? We don't need to be wasting time on as accountants. And now we're getting an answer. And I could say, help me draft the email, or not the email. It has to be a letter. Help me draft the letter. Help me draft the penalty abatement letter.
While that's loading, my question is, how would you suggest allowing an internal team access to GPT?
I would sign up for ChatGPT and purchase the team plan. And then you can add them via email to your team. And you'll pay $25 or $30 per month, depending on whether you pay for the year or just month to month. That allows you to do a lot of really cool things, such as share custom GPTs, which I haven't even talked about yet.
And to think this is only an hour long.
I know.
We could do a whole series.
So the custom GPT thing is really fascinating. I'll just give you a little peek. So what these bots do is, you know how I said at the beginning, you should always say, I am, you are, I need? Well, that can get really tedious if you have to do that every time you write a prompt. So custom GPTs allow you to create an instruction set that applies to all prompts that go to that custom GPT. So for instance, I created SEC 179, and this is a tax expert specializing in IRC section 179 queries, depreciation. And it allows you to upload documents. So I actually uploaded the IRS document, the guidance on Section 179. And so I also gave it the ability to accept other documents. And so basically we can ask questions, right? And instead of hallucinating, it will go into the PDF first and search there and then give me an answer. So I say like, like what would be a good depreciation? Tell me about, the benefits. Actually, here, we've got some examples. What are the limits for Section 179 in 2023? And it's going to search its knowledge, which is the PDF that we uploaded. So great example of how you could use this is your employee handbook. You could upload your employee handbook for your company and create a bot that's like an HR bot that then answers questions for employees. And the neat thing about these is you can publish these bots so that anybody with the link can access it. So you could create the bot, upload the handbooks, make it public if you have the link. That doesn't mean it's like available to everyone in the marketplace. It's just available if you have the link. And you could provide the link on your employee intranet. And then people can go ask questions about the handbook or like policies. Because they're never going to read the handbook. They're just going to ask you, right? So now instead of you having to answer all these questions, you could just give them the link and say, ask your question here and let me know if it doesn't work.
Now we've got about 3 minutes left, Blake. I'll ask this quick question. Do you know how many users can be on the team account?
It's up to like 150, I think. So, and that's for small teams. That's how they say that's for quote unquote small teams. So if you need more than that, you can reach out to OpenAI and get like an enterprise plan. But I think that should satisfy pretty much most of your attendees.
Do you have any more examples you want to show, or do you want to go through a couple more questions?
Let's go through some questions.
What resources are you using to stay on top of the latest AI tools and prompts? For example, AIValley.ai.
Oh, there's a newsletter that I subscribe to that I really like. And I'm going to try to find out the name of it. I think it's called The Rundown. Yeah, The Rundown AI. So this is, let me put it on the screen here. This is a great newsletter. So go to therundown.ai and enter your email address, and you get a daily email and all the news about what's hot in AI, ChatGPT, Claude, Bard, Google. We didn't even talk about Bard. That's Google's version of AI. It's not as good as the other ones, but the one thing it can do is it can summarize YouTube videos. Oh gosh, I have to show you that before we go. It's just so cool. I think I just accidentally unclicked my camera. Am I gone? Am I still here?
Your image is gone from the screen, but we do still have a box of you up at the top.
Okay, do you see my screen still?
Yes, full screen.
Okay, cool. So this is the Fed's press conference from January 31st. And if Bard has this ability, the other ones don't. You say like, give me an executive summary of this press conference. I am a stock market investor. Giving it that context, right? And it's going to go through the transcript. And because YouTube is owned by Google, Bard has direct access to all the transcripts. And now we've got the summary about how the Fed has decided not to do anything. When will the Fed lower interest rates? It's looking through the transcript again. This was all anyone would talk about yesterday in the economic news. And it says, the Federal Reserve will not lower interest rates until they are confident that inflation is moving sustainably toward 2%. And then we've got more details here. And we've even got quotes. That's pretty cool with time codes. That's super neat. All right, we got 1 minute left.
We have time for one last question, and this is a good one because it's references all the great things that you've done. Can you comment on different bots, paid or free, that interact with ChatGPT that might be useful to kind of summarize all the different ones you've talked about in
Yeah.
one good place?
So two tools that I didn't get to talk about today are Grammarly and Zapier. Zapier allows you to connect all the apps that connect to Zapier to OpenAI to do data analysis, to do all this stuff automatically. It's incredibly powerful. You can connect QuickBooks through Zapier, all that stuff, a lot of accounting apps too. Grammarly leverages AI. They don't make their own, but they leverage AI to do a lot of this stuff. And it's very powerful for writing emails and improving your composition skills. And I love Grammarly. I use that a lot. So those are two apps that are not AI themselves, but use AI.
Well, to quote a few of our people in the chat, Blake, you rock. So thank you so much, Blake. This was absolutely wonderful, so informative. All those who are still with us, we will be sending the recording out of this. We will be keeping in touch with you about different AI things and how Dean Dorton can help. Blake, I highly doubt, but I also hope that this is not the last time that our paths cross with Dean Dorton and all of our wonderful guests here. Blake, plug away. We want to be
Thank
able
you.
to keep
Yeah.
in touch with you outside of this webinar.
I just want to remind you, if you need CPE for this, get the Earmark app. We're going to email you. We have your emails. We'll let you know when the course is available. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Bye.